Yeah, we're live. Wow, I'm kind of fuzzy. What's going on here? Let's go, camera. Oh, and I'm in focus now. How's everybody doing tonight? As you can see from the thumbnail, I have and I think I need to make that lighter. It seemed like it came out really dark when it appeared. But you can see from the thumbnail that I managed to get the Ford blower installed on the Chevy LS motor. And it seems like it's all working. It took most of today to get it done. There were a lot of things that I had to do, and what I'll do is I'll take you guys in there in just a little bit, and we'll take a look at, we can kind of cover all the things that are going on there. It's finally ready basically to start. I won't be able to make any runs tonight, unfortunately, because this laptop that I'm using for the live feed is a laptop that I would need to do the tuning on it. What I did was left a file in there from when I was running the thing NA on pump gas with the truck manifold. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna grab a seat here. Oh yeah, there we go. That's better. So I had a file in there, and even though I've changed fuel from 91 to E85, as long as you squirt fuel in there, it'll just, it should just start up. It wants to live. It wants to be happy. I just need to make sure that all of the, when you change to this blower, we basically had to change all the stuff on the top and on the front. Normally we run, when we these LS motors, with a Mazir electric water pump, so there's no accessories on it. Now with the blower on there, I'm running all the accessories, not the AC, but the power steering is there, the alternator's there, the water pump is there. And so we had to remove all that stuff and put that stuff on. And unfortunately, there are a couple of interference areas. So I'll be able to show you that way. There's some clearancing necessary on the alternator and power steering mounts. So you had to clearance those. You had to notch those so the intake fits. I had to dimple the tube for the water pump. I'll show you where that is. Let's see. On below the blower, or below the manifold for the blower, on the valley cover, we have to change the bolts on those. And I even went and bought some button head bolts for those to, lower profile. I think Tom was saying that he has done stuff with countersunk ones, but I just didn't want to have to machine it and do that. I didn't have a drill for that. So what I did was, because even after putting the button heads on there, it still didn't work. It was still hitting. So what I did was take the valley cover off and just took it over to the drill press, and then I just drilled, countersunk, if you will, holes in the plate, enough so that it would still, there was enough material there still to secure it, but at least it would get the button heads down out of the way. And then after we did that, everything was okay. It took a little bit to get you'll see the different throttle body adapters and things that I had to do to, right now it has the 102 millimeter GM throttle body on there. I was lucky, I talked about this last night, I nailed the belt length for the blower, because the blower, and we'll walk in there and see, but the blower is running off of the serpentine system that drives everything else. So basically you're adding belt length, and I happen to have one laying around West Tech. As a matter of fact, I'll grab that and show you. So there was a belt already here sitting around, and what I did was put it on. It actually turned out to be fairly close. In fact, it was about that close. I showed you guys this last night, but I put this on, and I thought, that's not too far off. And then what I did was just move the tensioner, and then, got a rough idea of where to put my fancy guideline measuring zip tie. And once I put this on, I put the belt on, then it worked perfect. And when I went and got the belt from Napa, from the auto parts store, I just got something that was as close to what I thought that amount was. And when I put it on, it just barely squeaks over with the tensioner all the way tight. It just barely squeaks over the idler. So that's going to be a really good starting point. So that worked out good. Let's see what else. Oh, the fuel rails took a little bit of work. I had to put, the way that I'm feeding them is I'm feeding them with a Y off of the Mazir or the aeromotive regulator. So we have them deadheaded on the back, and I just had them too wide into the front. So we had to cap the ends of those. And then I had to play with because I put 80-pound injectors in it, the ones that I had on the NA motor. And so the fuel rail was set up with the mounts to not use that size injector. So I had to go through some, I've got some bolts and washers as spacers and offsets and everything, but it all just takes time. And that's the thing. So I finally got that taken care of. Then, you got to do a custom throttle linkage because the throttle body is at an angle now because of it's a cattywampus Ford one on an LS. So let's see, all that's working out. We can take a walk in there and I'll show you what's going on. Maybe we can even try to start it. I'm going to do a poll for tonight. We'll get that going early. So the poll will be, will this LS with a Ford blower make over 600 horsepower on 91 pump gas? And we'll ask our community now. So I want to talk about some other things today too. As a matter of fact, let's do that before we go in. I want to talk about the results of the video that I just posted on the CARB spacers. Hopefully you guys watched that, and I want to get some feedback from you guys on that. I hope you watched the coolest part to me was the overhead, the CARB cam, the Super Richie CARB cam. I'm going to start doing that when I do carbureted stuff because it gives you a lot of good information. So you can see in the CARB cam video section in that segment, you can see that while it's making a run, we roll into the throttle. So naturally there's fuel coming out of the squirters, which happens when you move, it's an accelerator pump. So it adds additional fuel. And I even have a video section where I'm just doing that without the motor even running. And you could see the squirter in action. And then while it's running and you can see the squirter, the cool thing is with the motor not running, the squirters just squirt out, basically kind of at a nice direct angle. With the motor running, it squirts out, but then curves, it gets drawn in. So it's kind of, that kind of stuff really gets me excited. And then also during the run, you can see while we're making the run, that if you look closely, I should have had a light in there because I'm going to try a light next time so we can see we can see the fuel going in past the squirter section, past the top of the carburetor. So we can see deeper down in there and maybe even look down into the intake manifold, which would be kind of cool. I don't know if I can get the light position just right, but that would be kind of cool. I want to see I'd like to get a better view of the fuel going out of the boosters and stuff. And if you can do it, maybe I could even strobe it, which would be kind of cool. So you'll be able to see fuel puddling in different areas and stuff. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that can be done with that, with the CARB cam. But the interesting thing was that I thought, and I came out and showed this to Brule right away, and he had a couple of remarks, and there are things that I took a look at. When we ran this thing through the whole run, and this was run with the single plane intake manifold. So we made a pull on it with the CARB cam, and you can see that we get a little bit of squirter action initially, and then the thing starts going, and then it starts siphoning fuel out of the squirter, which, it shouldn't be doing. And so when I showed Steve, I said, he said, that's actually really good. That's really cool. That's good. That's good footage. He said the engine masters guys, when they're doing that, sometimes struggle to get like footage like that. I said, you should see my setup. It's pretty rough. But he said, well, here's what I want you to look at. He said, go look at, and I'll show you what he's talking about on the carburetor. I'm gonna have to grab one. But he said, you need to look at the actuation levers and the spring mechanism on them. He said, you don't want those being in contact. He said, or even being maybe that close. He said, because what happens is that while it's running, that it can wiggle around and basically pulls the squirter, and you'll get stuff coming out of the squirter. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But I went back and checked them, and one of them had tension on it, and the other one did not. So one was a yes and one was a no, but yet fuel was coming out of both of them. So I don't think that that's what was going on. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, please. I think it's just siphoning fuel out of there. A couple of comments that guys had, the fuel level was too high. I mean, we have, you know, it's kind of right in the middle of the site class. The fuel level was too high. You need to do power valves. You know, they're throwing out all kinds of things that I could try, and all of it's good information because I would like to try it. I honestly don't know, given what I was seeing from the air fuel and the power, that what was going on was necessarily detrimental. Because as long as that's consistent, as long as it keeps doing that, which maybe there's no guarantee, without the carb cam, we don't know. We can't see that. But as long as it's consistent, we can jet accordingly to get the air fuel that we want. And hopefully, you know, and again, because we're changing, the jets are different, primary and secondary. If that squirter manipulation or siphoning is not happening evenly in front to back, we can also jet around that. But the key is that it has to be consistent. And also, the way that it's going in looked like it was more, you know, some wall wash going on, you know, at the wall of the intake manifold at any rate. That's going on. And I don't know that that's good atomization. I don't know that translates directly to power. So all of that, and this is just something that happened by accident. This had nothing to do with, those weren't the things I was looking for when I put this on there. I just wanted to see the fuel go in. That was my motivation for that. But that's what happens when you test and you try things and you find new things. That's why the carb cam, I think, is a pretty cool deal. And like I said, if I can get lights under there, I want to do that. And then with hopefully you guys saw the Super Richie Mega Spacer. That was silliness. That brought the thing almost all the way up, really close to the roof of this thing. I mean, there's enough room to breathe. But I don't think there was enough room, and this is the excuse I'm going to give. I don't think there's enough room for the salad bowl. I would really like to have tried that. I would almost I didn't think about it until after we took that combination off. And then people, in addition to that, people made comments about it. They're like, yeah, you got to combine that with a salad bowl. I'm like, yeah, that is a fantastic idea. I would have to cut the tubing down, and I put in the video that was 41 inches. I don't know where I came up with that measurement, but it's not. It's much closer to 30 inches. I think it's 31. I'm just going to call it a typo then, but that's not the case. So I'd have to cut that down a given amount to be able to run, and because the salad bowl helps everything. And as long as I had the carb cam in there, and the carb cam and the salad bowl and the mega spacer, you got all kinds of things. That's like Monster Island up in here. So let's go take a look at let me know what you guys think. I want to see how the poll's doing. Oh, look at that. A lot of positivity going on. They think it will make a 600 on 91. That will be interesting. So we'll take a little stroll. Rolling. Yes, my name is Roland. Okay, so this is what I took off. That's the truck intake. And this, ta-da, the big reveal. This is what I put on. Whoa, come on. There we go. That's not very good. We could do better than that. The cameras get all unhappy when you have shinybility stuff. They do not like that. So we're going to take a look at this one. Will be better. There we go. So we've got the blower on there. You can see it's a 6 rib. At least we're using 6 ribs. This is the idler. As you see, you can see underneath there, little spacer has pushed the alternator up, which is good because right back here, there would be some issues. You can see our fuel rail here going on. You can see, yep, custom spacers there. You can see maybe a little bit better from the other side. So I'm going to have to turn this so I can see what you guys are seeing and make sure you guys are seeing the right thing. So Tom even labeled them for me. Thank you very much. But you can see down in there, those are my spacers. And then it's just mounted to the plate. I've got some, yeah. That's how we do it. Got some back here too. So we got the spider web or spaghetti, bunch of boost lines and all kinds of stuff. We got our map sensor back here. We got fuel lines. This is what I was telling you. We got a Y to the fuel. It's coming off of the regulator over here. We just have a T, Y, whatever. So this is the new accessory drive. We took off the Mazir electric water pump there. So we'll put this on. Nailed the belt with this thing tensioned all the way. It just slipped over this, and I've spun it over a bunch just on the starter motor, and the belt all stayed on. So that's a good sign. You can see this is the air to water intercooler here. It's 2 in and 2 out, and I just have it teed down here, and then we feed it with the valve down there at the dyno. See if it'll reach back here. Yeah, and then back here we have here are the 2 lines, and they just go back into the tank over here, into the water tank. So we've got our throttle body. This one is a fast 102. It's got my Super Richie linkage up there. Whoa! You can see in there, and see if you can see. Yeah. So even though this is 102, it's still necking down into that oval because of the oval opening that's in this elbow for the blower, and then also this throttle body adapter that I put on here. But this allows us to run the factory GPS and IAC and stuff, and then hopefully I can run that one, and then this is the adapter, 3-hole for the smaller LS throttle body, and then the super big boy AccuFab piece. Chock full of ability goodness. That's a lot. So I'll show you where we had to do some finagling here. So if we look right here, you can see, if you can see, yeah, I think you can see that. It's not really going to hurt flow, but we just had to ding that with a hammer a little bit. Not a problem. And I don't know if you can see, you can't really see under there too much, but it's a pretty tight squeeze under the manifold. So we had to, I got photos of that, the countersinking, well, kind of countersinking. And then let's see if we can see in here. Yeah, you can kind of see. Can you see back in there? It's the back edge of this aluminum mount for the alternator and the power steering. There we go. So that's our blower motor, and hopefully I'll be running some dyno tests tonight on that after I get my, if you guys give me my laptop back. What else we got going? I think that's it for in here. We can see if we can maybe, in fact, you guys can probably stay in here for this. I'll just see if I can just fire it up. I'm thinking it will fire up. So you guys be good. I'm just going to see if it will start. I'm going to check fuel leaks first. I don't have any water in it or anything, so I'll just fire it up and see if it will run. Yeah, winning. That's always good. That is always good with that. Oh, that's good news. Now it smells like exhaust in here. Well, that's good. If it will just start up on that file with E85 in it from a tune that was designed for gas, that's probably a good sign, right? So I'll show you what I was talking about in the carburetor. We got one right up here. So this is what Steve was talking about. This right here needs to be a little bit of lash right there, because otherwise this will vibrate, and he was worried about it vibrating and pushing on the squirters. But I still think it was I think it was siphoned. That's what I'm guessing. So do I need to give this away so somebody can run it on their car? Super Richie Mega Spacer. It even has directions for where the fuel needs to go. Let's see here. Okay. Ugh, kick you guys. Take that. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. Get y'all situated. There we go. It's alive. Yes, it was alive. That is that's not an Eaton 122. It's actually a 2.3 liter, so it's more like the Eaton supercharger that they used on the 5.8 liter GT500. The earlier one, the 5.4, was a 122. This adapter that Tom made, the intake manifold and the adapter will accept both of those. Yes, the belt didn't fly across the room. I did a pre-check on that. So what I do is I just tap the starter, with the ignition's off though, but I tap the starter because the starter is independent of that on the dyno. I just tap the starter just a little bit because I don't do it a full revolution or anything. I just do it a little bit and go, okay, it didn't want to go to the side or do anything wonky. And then I do it a little bit more and then spin it over a couple times. And if the belt stays true and doesn't want to do that, usually after that, it's pretty solid. And it looks like the way that thing was running, I didn't see anything weird going on. At wide open throttle, the arm is under a load and can't wiggle. That's what he was saying, that you don't want slack in it. You can use it as a softball cannon. It is pretty big. Yeah, it's way too big for a tennis ball cannon. You'd have to pump up the tennis ball pretty good. Oh, Casey, so you want me to stipulate that they have to take the super spacer, and then that has to be part of the burnout video? The power steering pump actually does. So somebody's commenting about whether the power steering pump is going to whine. The power steering pump has fluid in it. It's just looped. How much power does a 5.8 make with that blower? I don't know. If in stock trim, I think that they're near 600, aren't they? Let's ask Siri or one of her friends. C500 power output. Let's see. It was rated at 662 horsepower, so a lot, and 631 foot-pounds. 112 horsepower increase from the 2012. That's a big jump in power. I thought it was pretty substantial. Turbo Monza, they make 730 wheel horsepower on a 5-liter, so I hope this blower makes 600 crank. The question is, will it make 600 on pump gas? This is on a 5.3. It's a L33, otherwise stock with all the internals and stuff. It does have a Brian Tooley truck Norris cam and springs in it. The guy who makes the kit is probably on here, Turbo Monza, Tom. Are there options for larger balancer pulleys on the LS? Yes, the ATI makes bigger dampers than the truck one. I think someone was asking about how much boost it will make. I'm thinking it would go over 15 pounds if I rev it high enough. I probably am not going to do that. Roush uses the 2300 on a 5-liter stage 1 is 670, 730, and 780, all on pump gas, and that's all wheel horsepower. That seems like a lot. 780 wheel horsepower on pump gas. This is an adapter kit that Tom makes. Here's Tom's information here. If you want to keep putting this up, I need to just wear it on my forehead. There we go. Trying to get the reflections out of there. Ability plate coming in handy. Yeah, it's the Super Tom kit. Crank horsepower on those ratings for the Coyote would seem more realistic. Because it would be, it'd be 100 more than that at the flywheel. That's a good bit. I know that the blowers will do that. It's actually more blower than I wanted to start out with. Ideally, what I wanted to do was put the 112 on it. That one was so convenient over, thanks John over at AccuFab. it was so convenient. It was just sitting there in a box. So rather than having to get a different one, we would have to scale up all of the shelving that he has, the pallet shelving, pallet racks, and then climb up to the very top. And then he's got one of those Shelby motors in a crate. He's got a couple 4GTs motors over there too, but we have to cut it out and take it off and then take the blower off. None of it's obviously insurmountable, but it was nice that when we first walked in, the first shelf that we came to just had that blower on it. So he's like, "Here, this is a lot easier." Can you put a polarizing filter on your cameras to reduce glare? I don't have that. I mean, all of that stuff is shot on my phone. Have you seen the Merc Racing TVS 2300 for the K24? No, that's a lot of blower for. I mean, it certainly can support a lot of power. There's no ring gap. That's the other reason that I'm not going to go crazy on this. Is I would wait to do an all of it kind of thing. Not that I would need to do it on this motor, I don't think, especially with a blower. But I would wait till I put ring gap in it to turn the boost up. Have you tested any engines that are out of the ordinary, like boat or aircraft engines? Like, there's lots of boat engines, but they're all car-based boat engines. You know, jet boat stuff, drag race stuff, and the airboat engines, but it's just a car engine. But no aircraft engines though. Do they run those on the engine dyno? What happens when you pinch a ring? The ends of the ring butt together, and when they do, they'll often seize momentarily in the bore, like they'll stick on their way up. And when they stick, it just snaps the ring land off of the piston. Sometimes the top one, sometimes the second one. Would love to put a 3800 blower on my 787 Sea-Doo. That'd be good. Cam install video is awesome. Thank you. Maybe you can do one on a head swap and ring gap is definitely, I've talked about that. I was going to do a ring gap video. I was going to do it on the 3800 and it would be the same for LS stuff. Richard, you better put this on a 6-liter. It has, I mean, it's a 900 horsepower blower or so it's more than enough to support a 6-liter. And I don't have a 6-liter right now to test it on. Dan, you want to see with the Mercury Marine 9-liter 4-valve big blocks? That would be cool. I'm sure Brule would probably love that. He's a boat guy. Oh, they were running the stack injected FE motor today, which was cool. It sounds good, and it's making over 700 horsepower, so it's doing well. There are a couple of aircraft engines based on car engines. I've seen guys run LS stuff, and I thought that they were doing Porsches too. So where are we at on our poll? 80, still at 88%. They'll make over 600 on pump gas. If you're building a Bonneville salt flats type setup, I've done that. What we build, starting with a blank canvas. I have been to Bonneville many times, and I went there with my Honda Civic, and I love that car out there. It ran great. It went 227. And the next one I wanted to go there with, but it got stolen, was the Chevy Sprint Turbo. Yeah, Dan, this was an FE, a 520-something inch aluminum FE motor. Do you guys want to see it? Do you want to see it? I'll show you. They did a bunch of stuff on it. They were tuning it and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It's nice though. It's really nicely done. This one right here. Man, that camera's like not happy with that lighting. There we go, that's better. I think, and I'm disappointed that they didn't come get me, but I think that they might have even been playing. This is like Super Richie style. This is tape. So I think that they were changing stack lengths. I think that they were testing that. But this is nice. It's all aluminum. It has aluminum heads on it and stuff. So it's nice. Sweet. Playing with different oil level like you do on the dyno. Why does that thing start? Why do I start losing? What should I get my rings to on an LY6 6-liter if I got the GT 500 blower set up? I don't know, 28-ish, something like that. Turbo Monza, right now they're running it on pump gas. They're going to run it on E85 tomorrow, I think. I don't think it has high enough compression to gain a whole bunch from E85, but we'll see. Yeah, it looks Can-Am ready. Yeah, almost. Stacy, you've got a Gen 3 6-liter? What do you think about the TorqueStorm F1 Pro Charger? Those are different things. A Pro Charger is a different supercharger than TorqueStorm is. So which one of those? They're both good. I mean, a TorqueStorm is a much smaller blower, and Pro Charger has lots bigger stuff. I recently did a video installing aluminum hood insulation. Yeah, it does drive the camera nuts. The polished stuff, like after I installed the lower intake manifold and then the intercooler assembly, all of that was just like, the camera's like, no, we do not like polished stuff. We don't like shiny stuff. Think matte black. You should build a salt flat car out of your Z. Nope, that's not a good choice. The Honda is a much better choice than that. I thought 799s are known for developing cracks. No, that's a 706 head, but they all work though. Porsche had some too. I thought that they did. Yeah, you don't want your aviation engine to fail. Just took my dad out in the Turbo Camaro. It's running strong now. Good. I hope you enjoyed it. Richard, have you ever tested insulating the bottom of the LS manifold with the heat shield? Is that legit or Harry Potter magic stuff? So you want to put like they use some sort of, is it a metallic based heat shield on a composite manifold? Do you know how good of an insulator like that composite material is? And also how at wide open throttle, how little transfer there is to the air? I would doubt that you'd see, I don't even know that you could see a measurable difference. Thoughts on the big block Chevy Summit brand intake? It's a dual plane with a single plane inlet, no divider. It's not a single plane inlet. It's just it just has an open. It's a dual plane, but with a a cut down divider, like it's pretty common for RPM air gaps and stuff. I haven't seen that particular one, but that design works well. Drag coefficient on the C5 Corvette is fantastic. Yep. Lots of guys building Zs. They're nice and lightweight, that's for sure. If I was going to do one, I would definitely do a 280 and not a 240. Turbo Monza, you got the fire up the 5.3? Good. What's a good stroker crank for a 5.3 LS? There's lots of them out there. The Summit stuff's good, and so is K1, and there's Scat, and there's a lot of good ones. My goal years ago was to build a land speed car out of a 92 Civic, have the CRX high fuel trans, 141 miles an hour in third, and running out of power. Yeah, I'm surprised it went that fast. 295 final drive might be too tall. Yeah, what you need to be concerned with more than that final drive is you need to do calculations on what that thing will go in each one of the gears at the RPM you plan on running the motor at, and then do a gear split and then go, oh yeah, it's not going to get from fourth gear to fifth gear, because it's not going to have enough power to continue to pull at the lower engine speed. That's the jump that you need to be concerned about. And you can get there with a bunch of different gearing at lower speeds. Like you can run it in third gear, and if it will run out to 140 miles an hour and you need to go 140 miles an hour, the fact that it's doing it at third gear is fine. As long as you're doing it at the right RPM relative to where the thing is making power. If you watch the forced induction interchiller stuff, you definitely will see a difference, and the MSD atomic heat shield stuff works. Okay. I'd like someone to show me the data where that's actually doing something. Who has 83 octane? Any new updates on the 8.1? You guys all see I've been here every night. You guys have seen what I've been running. 4200 swap stretch Z car. Can you mount 6-liter 243 heads on a 5.3? Yes. You're not going to gain that much from what you have, but yeah, you can. Installing a truck Norris cam and an LQ4 truck with long tubes. The last part to buy are heads. What heads would you recommend? What are you trying to do with it? Take a look at the videos that I have up on the 6-liter build when we did the LY6. Running the factory rec port heads makes a lot of power. The Trick Flow 225s or any head like that, like a ported set of 243s, any of those are going to work good. Yeah, they've just switched now from 89. The likes are. I've never done an Audi 5-cylinder. Google. So you took him for a ride, and all that worked out good. Good. I'm glad you're out representing for you, man. That's awesome. Jeremy at Faster Prom swears by those intake heat shields. I can't remember if he showed dyno data. I would like to see it. I'm not saying I just haven't seen insulators like that in the intake, because people don't realize how fast. They don't realize a number of things. They don't realize how fast at wide open throttle, like cruising around, I could see you getting heat, because when the air is moving slower, there's more time for heat to go from the intake manifold, especially an aluminum one, into the air. But the thing is, when the air is moving fast, like at wide open throttle, there's a boundary layer between most of the air and and whatever the thing is that's hot that would be transferring heat to the air. So most of the air is never in contact with that. It's also moving very fast. So if you do the calculations about how fast that air is going by any given heated spot, even if it was all in contact with that, there's just no time for heat transfer to take place. So if you have a cold air source and you're getting cold air and it's going by at 1,000 miles an hour, it'd be like you having a flame and waving your hand over it. Does any of the heat from the flame go into your hand? A tiny bit, but it doesn't burn your hand. And it's the same thing. And people don't realize that. And they also don't realize on a composite manifold that it's a much better insulator than an aluminum manifold is. So it would be less likely to do that. What octane should a canned 4.8 in a daily 4x4 run? I would run. Does it have stock compression stuff? It depends on how much timing you want to run. If you run 87 in it, you're just going to have to run less timing. So if you run 91 in it, you can run more timing. If you run more timing, the chances are it's probably going to make power. Richard, I'm going to head to Florida. There's guys that are selling 60 short blocks for 1,000. You should see if that's on the up and up and make sure. I mean, you can buy, if you can find those motors in wrecking yards, you can buy them for less, but just make sure that they're not all out of, submerged cars or some shady deal. Richard, you should do a video replacing the valve springs on an LS head using rope in the spark plug. You can stick anything that you want in there. We usually use air, but rope works fine. Anything that holds the valve up and stop it from falling so that you can put the spring back on, all that's good. Richard, just wondering if you remember how good or bad the bearings were in the big horsepower junkyard engines you run. This one, you can see copper on the cam bearings. I haven't taken it apart to see what the rod main bearings look. All the other ones had the kind of wear that you would expect, and the bearings look like you would expect something that has 200 or 250,000 miles on it. It's not good, but when we took it apart to do the ring gap on them, I just clean them and then put clean oil on them and then put them back in. It was running when it came. I'm assuming one of them, at least I know, it was definitely running. Chad's motor was running and it came out of his vehicle and had 248,000 miles on it. And the bearings didn't look great on that because that 248,000 miles, you know, that they wear, and you can see a little bit of copper. But so what? It was running. Just put it back in. It works fine. The Trickway is the GM special tool that uses a metal plate that compresses all the valve springs at once. You can use it with air hoses going to each cylinder. Yeah, that would be good. I don't mind going 2 at a time. That works too, because we have the valve spring compressors here that work good. You know, just a little tool that you bolt on there, and it's makes pretty short work out of changing the springs. It's about time to blow up an engine or 3. Yeah, Dan, I like those too. I think I almost like those, the Galant VR4s. I think I like those better than I like the Eclipses. Casey, the intercooler thing is completely different than airflow because there's no boundary layer on an intercooler. That's why it's shaped the way that it is. That's why it has so much surface area. So all the air comes in contact with the sections of the intercooler core. That's a completely different deal. If you send stuff through a tube like this thing, so look at this. If you send air through this tube, like you can see through there, so if you send air through the tube, only the parts of the air that are touching, you know, the inside diameter, only that's coming in contact with the heat. All the stuff in the middle here, just going right through, never even touching heat. That's the boundary layer. It's the boundary layer of that air is like, hey, we got you guys. We're going to protect you. Just go. You guys just go on by. We got this. We don't care if we get hot. You guys just keep going. And so that's what happens. And so it's the air is acting as an insulator for the air. Richard, I just pulled the LQ4 6-liter. I was wondering how much boost it will take before I have to gap the rings. I would gap the rings. Obviously, we can run boost. I mean, I've already run, you know, 7 or 8 or 10 pounds or whatever, and you can do that. But you can also blow it up at that boost. So you don't know what the ring gap is, and you don't know how careful you are with your tune and your air temperature and all that stuff. And so, you know, problems can happen. Richard, have you tested any Japanese engines besides Honda? Yeah, I have an RB25. I've already run with the guys over at Skunk. I have a K24. Well, I guess that's a Honda. What else have we run on the engine dyno though? Only on the chassis dyno, I think. I don't think I've run any other import motors on the engine dyno here. I ran a Mazda engine, but over at Verbanzik's. What else did we run? I think that's it. Yeah, Turbo Monza, I've never seen a 6.2 in the wrecking yard. I don't even see 6 liters. The L33 was a nice score. How much gap? You need to have like 28 thousandths is normally what we put in stuff. Talon was the same as the Eclipse, yes. Can Freon be installed in the intercooler? Yeah, you could. It's a lot of work to do that, and for the gain is not great. What's your opinion on stroking a 5.3? Are you going to put a 4-inch stroke in it? If you're going to add boost to it, if you're running NA, making the motor bigger works pretty well. If you're going to run boost on it, I wouldn't bother. Can you measure the air temperature above and below the intercooler? Yeah, we do that quite often on intercoolers. And there's always a big temperature drop. A lot of times there's a corresponding pressure drop as well. If you question the strength of your transmission, wouldn't it be wise to add lift and duration to your cam, you know, to soften it? It's not going to soften it. It's going to add power. Richard, why is your daily truck stock? Why not a cam at least? It's okay to make yourself smile in the day. I want to get in my truck. The thing that makes me smile is getting in my truck and having it never break down. I get in my truck, I go drive it. I have to drive it 1,000 miles on the trip, and it works great. I get to do cams on engines and stuff all the time, so I get enough of that. Richard, would you do a 4G63 turbo? Yeah, I would like to do one of those. Richard's truck doesn't need an LSA. Richard's truck needs a new truck probably. Every time, like when I ran the Vortec kit on the 4.8 and the 5.3 and the 6.0, I wanted to put it in the truck. The little blowers, when we ran that Cadillac blower, I wanted that in the truck, and I would love to have that in there, but I don't want to be buying transmissions, and it can't break down for what I have to get done. Yeah, if I was going to modify something, it would be something early that didn't have to worry about it being a daily driver. Measured intercooler temps in the Jetta, and it was heat soaking. Is it an air to air or air to water? Is it sitting next to the radiator? Why is it heat soaking? Turbo Monzi went 1430s in your truck. Nice. Richard, any experience with the Mazda Speed 6? Yes, I have. We ran one of those on the chassis dyno here, and I did a video, I think, for the guys at CX Racing on an intercooler upgrade maybe on it. I like those cars. I like the Mazda Speed 3 too. Yeah, I worry about doing a transmission upgrade on the truck, because even if I put like a 4L80 or whatever in there, I just have seen a lot of those in here from other people, and they have problems with them. I don't like computer controlled transmissions. Like I would like to have I definitely like an overdrive, and I like the factory one. They put all the stuff in it. It works good and keep it stock, but putting like an aftermarket 4L80 or something in there, I just have not seen good stuff. Will this LS with the Ford blower make over 600 horsepower 91 pump? Still 88% versus 12. 223 votes. That's amazing. We don't even have 223 people here. So we're going to end that poll because I have to get going right at 1 hour. And so we got 4 minutes left. What, Dan? What is a track rat? I don't understand what that is. Just swap in an LSA. I got lots of motor stuff that I can make. I can make the motor part good. It's the transmission that's the problem. L83 or LY6 or LP4 for a cruiser swap. There's no bad choice there. The L83 I'd be worried about. It's a lot more problematic to get it working. The other ones would be a lot easier. Yeah, Turbo 400 with the gear vendors would be more my. I've never used the gear vendors in anything, but even a good. Is there a non-computer controlled 4L80? That's what I would want. I would like a Turbo 400 with an overdrive. Richard, will you be down there on the 18th? I don't know. Probably no, definitely not. I won't be. What causes the LS2 to lose RPM after letting off the gas? You mean after you make a run or something? There is hope for your 4L60 at 450 horsepower. Track Rat is your beater car that you only use for Laguna Seca or Sears Point and HPDE and regional road racing. So they're heat soaking their intercoolers in a road race car. Is that what I am not following the line of the trend of thought here, the line of thought. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I thought we were talking about drag race cars. First, I thought we were just talking about intercoolers. Richard, I have a 434 with L7 heads. It came with a cam motion 252, 262 cam. Is this too much cam to have acceptable street manners? That's a big cam. Even in that size motor, that's a good size cam. So have you run it yet? 4L80, 3000 stall, at least all of that is good. Somebody might be able to tune that, but that's a pretty big cam for something that's not like, I mean, Steve over there is really great. He might be able to give you a better idea. But in my opinion, that's a big camshaft. This truck is a 2002. Electric foot pedal or drive-by-wire for boost? Why do you want to do drive-by-wire? Full manual valve body 4L80. It would be cool just to have a manual trans in there. Like a T56. I have a T56 sitting in my storage. Yeah, the gear vendors are expensive. Heat soaking and road racing. So they're air-to-water intercoolers like an LSA one are heat soaking and road racing. So that's what that's the point that somebody was trying to make. I thought they were talking about the intercooler brick that goes in between the high ram stuff. I thought that's what we were discussing. Yeah, if you have an air-to-water intercooler and you're road racing, that's not a good application for that. It's hard to have enough heat transfer from your secondary cooler to have enough reservoir, the combination of that stuff. If I was road racing, I wouldn't run an air-to-water intercooler. I would run an air-to-air. Yeah, I do have a T56. It's definitely not going to be given away. Stock speed for your truck is like 800. Put your best combo engine in the T56. Should I get an L33 or an LM7? Well, you always pick the L33 over the LM7 if you can get it. For me, they're hard to find. Yeah, Braden, if you have a Elbrock ProFlow, that's going to be softer down low. And then if you put camshaft in it, it's also going to be a little softer down low. So I don't know where the transmissions are breaking. I thought it was the second to third gear shift. And that's the shift is at obviously fairly high RPM. The T56 that I have was actually intended for the 240Z with an LS. Yeah, make sure to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. Richard, you know my setup. What size throttle body? I'm going to drive by cable. Is this the turbo motor? The turbo motor is irrelevant. You just put whatever size throttle body you want on there. Put whatever matches the intake manifold that you have. Turbo Monza, the band brakes on third gear drum on the 4L60. Okay. Richard, later model 17-inch, 2017 Silverado rims. I like those. New tires and buffing out the paint will make the truck look cool again. The problem with it right now is that all of the clear coat's coming off of it. Especially from it's migrating down from the top of the bed down, and in other places too. I think that they just did a quickie paint job on the guy that I bought it from. It looked nice when I bought it, but now I don't know how they can get rid of that, if they have to take all of it off or not. The air-to-air intercoolers heat soak in road racing. The fix is a huge core. I think the big problem is not enough airflow coming off of the corners, low speed, high boost. Have you ever used quadrojets with boost? I haven't done a blow through on a quadrojet or a draw through. They have done that here. HO Racing was here. Ken was here, and they used one on a Pontiac. I started Torque Storm. Upgrade your truck's engine. I have a Torque Storm to put on the truck, but it's not going on there. What's your feeling on coils? I use stock ones. We use like the LS3 ones, and then the key is to be able to manipulate the dwell time. We like 4.5 milliseconds, which the Holley lets us do. And when we do that and bring the ring gap down to 19 or something, we don't really have misfire problems. Somebody tell me before I go, what's the T56 worth? Maybe I do need to sell it. Richard, sounds like you need a Torque Storm 33 with a T56 and the Z. Yeah, I also have a Kenny Bell, polished Kenny Bell 2.8 liter that would go in there nicely. It'd be just ridiculous. T56 is worth a couple grand. So it's settled. Richard's going to put the L33 in his truck. It probably could use a motor, but it probably needs a trans more. Does extrude hone actually do anything versus hand porting? Yes and no. Hand porting, you cannot get to a lot of areas that extrude honing can. So It's just porting. It's not magic. So it is just making things flow better. But the process they use is for very specific things. It originally designed for well, they call them transmissions, but they're a bunch of very small intersecting holes in very precise aerospace blocks. And that's what they designed it for. And it's been used in a lot of stuff now. Do you like the F-35 cam? I don't know what cam that is. Is that an Anderson cam, like a Ford cam? We'll pick back up on your truck updates tomorrow. Yeah, by tomorrow it might have a little bit more fuel in it because I'm getting there empty. So I am going to upgrade the fuel capacity. So, well, not the capacity, the fuel level. Okay, one more minute. We sold a stage 2 T56 with 2 billet keys for $1,800. Is it worth it to extrude on the Arizona Speed Marine long tube TPI runners, or just have them as is? Is it the small block TPI stuff? I don't think you should do that. There's just not enough wall thickness there, right? Is the Arizona Speed Marine, aren't those tubular? So there's not very much wall thickness to port and to make them flow better. And even if you make them flow better, the gain you're going to get is limited by the design of the manifold. It's limited by the runner length. The F-35 is an LS3 Texas Speed. I'm not familiar with that. What's the most power the dyno will hold without breaking? I don't know. I don't think that they've ever gone that far. They have a power mark that they're going to be putting in for too long here. It's really, really nice. The owner did a fantastic job. It looks fantastic. So instead of running a gear vendors, you run 2 turbo 400s back to back. Can that be done? That has to be something that I would do, right? Sounds perfect. Drive to Florida and back to Knoxville in 8 days. What are you going to do with the other 6? You're just going to be goofing off? Should be 1 day out and 1 day back, right? You just get on the road and go. Chew up the miles. Come on. How far is Florida? Is it 3,000 miles? Not that far. So if you average 200 miles an hour, they get there pretty fast. $268, $278 at 50, $753 lift. Is that a big block cam? Yeah, you got to average 200, including stop. So, you're going to have to be charging on the big end. All right, JB, take it easy. Okay, guys, I got to get going. Obviously, I have a supercharged LS just waiting for me, just waiting for this computer so I can do the tuning on it. Thank you guys all for showing up. Hope you guys have taken a look at the video that I posted up and go show like about 1 million of your friends or whatever. And then, because of this, I want to do that in clear because I want to be able to film the nitrous because everything's better in clear. Clear and in slow mo. That's what everything should be. All right, guys. See y'all tomorrow. And boom.